May your glasses be filled with whiskey when there's nothing left but beer. May your landings equal takeoffs for another freaking year. Cheers.
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 We're in California. It's 3 o'clock, so we'll be drinking water.
Awesome. That is a perfect way to kick us off. And actually, we are starting off with Winglore. So thank you so much, Eric, for filling in right there. Welcome again to everybody who's joining us. As I mentioned, I'm Eric Cox. I'm a member of the Netcapital team. We have two fantastic issuers that are actively raising capital on the Netcapital platform on the line here. We have Winglore Spirits. We also have Greenopia. So I will be adding links to both of those offering pages on the line here. Oh, excuse me, we got Cheers listening in from Nashville. Don't want to miss you there. Thank you so much for coming in from Nashville. So the order progression here, we'll hear for a couple of minutes from the Winglore team. I will actually allow you to ask your questions. Please, couple quick housekeeping items. Please do use the Q&A feature built into Zoom. I know there's also a chat feature that we're using right now for fun with regards to where people are calling in from, but the Q&A feature really makes it the easiest to track the questions as they come in and make sure that we get to as many of them as possible. We do want to keep this interactive, so please do ask your questions. So the Q&A is wide open. Please hop in there. And I will add the investment links to each issuer right when they begin to present here. So with that being said, we got one more joining from Pennsylvania. Welcome from Pennsylvania. I love it. One of my favorite things is seeing people from all over the United States and the world come to hear from the founders and learn about the investment opportunity. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and add a link to Winglore into the chat. And Eric and Carlos and company, why don't you come on in and tell us a little bit about Winglore, what you're building, and why folks should consider investing in Winglore through the Netcapital platform today.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate having us on here today, Eric. I'm going to share a couple quick slides with you guys. We'll try to run through it here pretty quick. Are you seeing our slides okay?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. I'll try to get through these quick to make sure we save maximum amount of time for questions, but we want to make sure you have a little bit of background information on us at Winglore Spirits first. You have with you here today, like Eric mentioned, myself, Eric, Easy Bryan. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer, and I'm here with Carlos Howard, our founder and CEO. He'll be available to answer questions here in just a few minutes. We're four founders and four pilots, all from different parts of the service. Three of us are Air Force pilots by background and trade, and Carlos, our fearless leader, is a Marine Corps aviator. We're joined on our team by a couple great professionals that we brought in to help us round out areas that, as you know, military folks, we could use a little expertise and background in. One of those, to no surprise, is finance. Yes, the finance part is incredibly important. Our CFO, Jason Myers, is a skilled professional, been in the business for a long time. And we pair him up with Amanda Ninja Beckwith, who is our master blender. You probably can put together where she got that call sign, right, as a master blender. And she's amazing and responsible for what is inside of this bottle. Since we are a bunch of pilots, we kind of started off this effort with a pilot because we're a startup. And since we're pilots, we did a pilot with pilots. So that bottle, if you can see in the small window here, is right here. This is the first effort that we went through bottling a single barrel for the F-15 Air Wing of Seymour Johnson in North Carolina to really get our feet wet and get things moving. Tremendous success took place earlier this spring, and we started off kind of doing a friends and family raise. It was super successful, got through $1 million raised in just under a month, and got this first initial bottling out, and then moved on to this great next raise with Netcapital, where we started putting together our final product that you see before you here. We've got two offerings that we started with, our Nickel on the Grass American Single Malt. Think Scotch, but made in the United States. Only just a protected class of whiskey as of January this year. This is a 6-year bottle in bond ASM, so it's 100% malted barley, as the name would suggest. And the bottle in bond part tells you that it's at least 50% ABV, so it's 100 proof Nickel on the Grass American Single Malt whiskey. Our other offering is our Bogey Dope Straight Bourbon, a 7-year whiskey. This is an ultra premium spirit as well. Mash bill of 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% malt. That's what I'm enjoying here currently with you this evening. Been super popular. A lot of exciting things kind of about our bottle. For us, the marketing and branding piece of this is absolutely critical. And there are so many things. We'll show you the bottle in real time here in just a few minutes and maybe take some questions on it. but there are a lot of things about the angles and the way that the bottle is designed to really speak to aviation. So many things about it, little kind of Easter eggs and exciting things that if you're an aviator, you'll appreciate on the bottle. And I'll show you that more in real time in just a minute. Our first year projected net revenue, I won't read for you all the numbers, but they're available here for you to look at. We're moving along pretty great on this front. We just 2 weeks ago passed our first 1,000 bottles sold. We did that in under 90 days, and our projections right now looks like we'll probably get past our second 1,000 bottle in about half the time. So we're expecting to have another 1,000 sold by about the end of the holidays, Christmas. This is a quick slide on what our first year cost base. You'll see that it's inside of our raise and doesn't even include all of the revenue that comes from those several thousand bottles raised. We've got and already invested in our first 30,000 bottles of custom glass, and that doesn't include all of the additional glass that you saw from our pilot that we do specialized bottlings in. So we've got a good runway. We've invested in our dry goods as well as in our case, our very wet goods, the whiskey as well. So we've got a great runway to make a very successful first 12 to 18 months with the funding that we're raising. We are, like I mentioned, in this seed round with Netcapital, looking for just over $1 million of equity crowdfunding. I'm very excited to say we're just about halfway there. We went over 475 just today, and we're looking to close that out here right around the end of the year. This is kind of our projection, our projected growth over the next few years. You can see we're still really here in the beginning, still late in 2025, but we expect to be through the first 5,000 cases, so that's about 30,000 bottles here by the end of next year and continue growing from there. We're a startup, so we're investing all of our revenue and startup capital in growth. Right? So we're looking to take down markets as quickly as possible. We're starting out as a direct-to-consumer brand, selling online currently, and we'll move to retail locations in 5 states this year, look to double that next year. And hopefully before we even get to some of those states next year, we'll also be in all on-base locations, AAFES, Marine Corps, Navy, Coast Guard exchanges, all the like. Some of you may be wondering, do liquor companies really exit and make any money? Yes, they do. Here are just a couple examples, and some of them that you've heard about. I know everybody knows Casamigos sold for $1 billion. That's a real thing. And you see Aviation Gin here was a pretty big deal too at 610. But there are a lot of actually kind of small craft whiskey companies that have sold at really amazing exits as well, like Penelope. Horse Soldier's got an amazing investment. There are some great whiskeys out there. TX whiskey also exited in that 5-year time range with at over $200 million. We're doing a lot to make this company happen. So for us, we're building a brand that's built on a community. A lot of products and companies, especially in the spirits space, will go and they'll build, maybe create a great product out there, but they don't necessarily have a community or a story or anything to help them build the brand. That's baked in with us. We're from a community that whiskey and spirits is an important part of. We come from a community where we really work hard, but we play hard. And while we take our job and our professions very seriously, it's very important that we don't take ourselves too seriously. So this is all about a culture that we're trying to bring to the broader population. We know this is going to be successful inside of our community, and we're getting ready to bring our community to yours. We've got a lot of great partners. Nobody can do this on their own. We've got great partners in the marketing space with Makers and Allies. We're working with all sorts of podcasts and other aviation brands. You'll hear us on things like the Fighter Pilot podcast, as well as the Merge and many others. We're working with several companies on the production side. We are a brand new company, and as we talked about, we have a 7-year whiskey, so we did not make that on our own. But we are a brand that works with several distilleries, which gives us maximum flexibility. And we win a couple ways. One, by really embracing a community that is excited about our product and excited to get behind it. We've had really strong investment out the gate from people in our community and outside of our community. And Netcapital has been an important part of this from the beginning because we want to reach out to everybody in our community, whether it's junior officers, company grade officers, pilots from the aviation community that are starting from the beginning, they're not all accredited investors. They can't come and make a $25,000 investment. But we don't want that. We want what we're doing through Netcapital, where we have, 300 investors and growing that are really excited about our brand and can go out there and evangelize what it is that we're doing here in Winglore Spirits. And we're just doubling down with great partners and a ton of effort. Everything that we do in the aviation world requires hard work and precision, and we're bringing that to the spirits space as well. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and talking so much because I want to hear from you folks and what it is that you want. And
Thanks.
when there's too much dead time, I'll tell you more about the bottle.
Well, thank you so much. I do want to come back to that bottle because that's actually one of the questions I have is you
Yeah,
clearly dedicated. I wish there was a way through Zoom for everybody to really kind of touch and feel and appreciate the quality of the bottle. So we will circle back to the bottle for sure. But I really wanted to start for a second. We're exactly 1 week out from Veterans Day. So I want to thank you, Eric, and Carlos, and all the members and attendees on the line here who have served our country. Thank you for you and your families and the sacrifices you made. So I really want to appreciate you. This shouldn't be a 1 day thing. This is like a year-round thing. So we're really grateful for all that you guys do for us. So thank you so much there.
thanks, Eric.
The next thing I want to say is shout out to the Twin Cities because we added some more people mentioning that they're calling in from different places. Welcome, welcome. And let's get straight into some of the questions that came in, and then I'll ask some more questions about the bottled up things as well. So, question: what are your plans for competing with hemp derived THC beverages that have gained significant market share? So maybe we could talk about the market in general with that question as well. This is particularly true in states without adult use cannabis programs creating direct competition with alcohol products. So really good question. How are you framing this within the kind of the broader market trends of kind of THC enriched or CBD? And I know there actually is some new regulatory updates that are coming when in fact there might be a ban coming for THC and hemp derived kind of consumables, beverages and gummies. But yeah, if you could talk a little bit about how you imagine this fits into the broader market competing with cannabis.
Yeah, sure. I can take that one. And really, there's the other parts of the market and trends. So if you think about where they're competing, it's really, let's call it in the let's call it below $80 range, if you will, of spirits. And so as people kind of join, I would say some type of like adult beverage culture, there are people who have, let's say, medical problems or other things that they had to look for alternatives to alcohol. And of course, some people choose that by lifestyle. The space that we are after is the premium and the ultra premium space, which is also actually growing. So if you look at the market trends for premium and ultra premium spirits, that is where we chose to be. And it's partially because of part of our origin story is we had a spirit, which there's a song about, which one of our founders is a band, and we could talk about that later. But the point is, there was some really terrible spirit that we shared, and we wanted to actually have something that was not only beautiful in the bottle, but was worthy of sharing for multiple occasions, whether it be corporate events. The Marine Corps Ball, you forgot to talk about that. It's right before Veterans Day, by the way. So I had 2 holidays back to back. But the point is, I actually did a tasting there, and the Marines are dressed up in their garb, the ladies are dressed nice in their gowns, and our premium spirit was there on display. And so we're not really competing in that space, is what I would say. But everybody's joining the party in terms of like trying to come up with some alternative things, and we're kind of competing above that in the premium and ultra premium space.
Yeah. I may take a slightly different angle on that too. One of the things that allows us to not only compete against folks that are making a new type of spirit like that, or even others that are more closely in our market, is that we, like we mentioned, we're a producer and non-distiller. So we work with a whole variety of distilleries, which gives us flexibility. And while there's a lot of concern about a bust in the market, we're a commodities company, right? When do you want to buy a commodity? When it's busting, right? This is the perfect time for us and a great time to invest in a company that's able to do that and find the best things in that marketplace and sell it as part of a premium brand that has a broad reaching community. And that's what we're able to do. And that is really going to allow us to separate in the market, especially as a startup, because we don't have some of those same capital costs and time required.
And that's a really good point, so I think on both sides. And then I just wanted to double check as part of this new federal funding bill to reopen the government that just passed, there is actually a rider in there redefining the legal limit on THC content. There's a 1 year period for it to go into effect, it looks like, but it looks like there is potential for the hemp-related products to face more regulatory scrutiny in the upcoming months and years. So something to keep track of for sure. Great question. Thanks for hopping in there. Um, we talked a little about the Marine Corps ball and how the ultra premium fits in really well there. I think that ties really well into this bottle. Can we get back to the bottle and talk a little bit about why is that such an important piece that you guys focus clearly so much energy and attention to making sure that you deliver this premium spirit in a premium bottle?
Yeah. Good, Carlos. I saw you grab the bottle.
Yeah, so I mean, we did actually spend probably almost close to a year designing the packaging before we even came to the table, because we could have bought, let's say, off the shelf, if you will, glass that was ready to go. But we really wanted to take great pains to do things that are, again, speak to our community, but have really good packaging. So this one it says remove after flight, which is kind of like, hey, obviously you don't partake in spirits until after flight, right? We have a challenge coin that's on top, which is ubiquitous in the military. It's fun. You can have at the squadron bar or even like out in town. And we're actually training owners on this. Exactly. There you go. So if you're presented with a challenge coin, there's several ways it can go. Either you're going to buy the drink or I'm going to buy the drink if I challenged you and you actually have it. And then, of course, you see the logo itself. There's kind of a bomber or a fighter, kind of bomber going down, fighter going up. The Easter eggs he was talking about, there's some things written on the back, Joker and Bingo. I'll save that for Eric to talk about in a second. And there's just, again, if you see the swoop in the back, the label kind of going up, we wanted to make sure that like everything on here tells part of the story, to include, this is actually kind of a W and there's an L in there for Winglore. So we really took great pains to make sure we had good package and design, and of course the liquid in the bottle. And I'll let Eric talk about the Joker Bingo.
Sure. Yeah, and it's inlaid in the bottle, so it may be challenging to see there, but you can kind of catch in the light. Joker means you have enough fuel left. It is a fuel state, and there we go. You've actually taken a little out of that bottle, which is very helpful. Thank you. But be careful about getting all the way to the bottom.
Doing my best. Yeah, doing my best. Sorry. And then from there, having some
So
trouble. Sorry.
these are both fuel states. So Joker would say you have enough fuel left to do your mission, to do one more mission set. The bingo line would tell you you're at a Schlitz. It's an emergency situation. You need to go home immediately. You're going to run out of gas. So we're working on it. In future iterations, we want to get to the point where we embed the microelectronics right down there to automatically reorder your next bottle of Winglore. We're working on that coming in the future. You'll also see, like when you look at the bottom of the bottle, that looks like it could be the inlet of a fighter aircraft, and these very clean lines on the bottom look like it could be the future fuselage of maybe a stealth fighter, an F-117 aircraft. All the precision parts of this, where you have metal and glass coming together, should resemble a lot of what a fighter or an advanced airplane looks like to us.
So I think that's super important, and I do want to make sure that we also talk a little bit about your team and the founder band story and some of those really cool fun pieces. But kind of more on the business side of it a little bit. Could we talk a little
Yeah.
bit about kind of the revenue model? I'm not sure how much into detail you can go into cost of goods or kind of margins or anything like that. But also, when you think about the competitive analysis, are there other comparable ultra premium bourbons and whiskeys that you feel like are comps that we could talk about here?
Yeah, Carlos, you're the expert in this area. I'll let you jump in first.
Yeah, so we put them on the competitive set, which is on that one slide. I would say as like a brand who is a non-distiller producer and independent bottler, Single Cask Nation is one of them. They don't only do single cask or single barrels. What they did is took the Scottish method of being an independent bottler, and that's what he's talking about, the flexibility and ability to go to other distilleries. So that gives us depth. If somebody wants to do a single cask, we can go find those through Ninja. But coming back to where Horse Soldier is the one that he mentioned. And I will say what they did with their brand is amazing in terms of building around that story. If you guys haven't seen the movie, they have a little bit more, I would say, overt celebrity than we do. But we have a lot of micro influencers. And I think kind of that whole point of what Delta Force was, if you think about their super elite, fighting force, and there's some reverence given to that. And we definitely have looked at them as we were trying to build our model. And then the second one I would go back to is the Bourbon Pursuit people. What they did is being outside of the industry and starting a podcast and just growing 1,000 true fans, as I think Seth Godin calls it. That's kind of where we're really diving into this crowdfunding piece of it and working with Netcapital. We need to grow those 1,000 true fans, which are already out there, right? It's just kind of identifying them, bringing them in, and joining the squadron. And we know what it's like to be a squadron. But if you've watched Top Gun, and all, I was inspired by that movie as a kid. My son was inspired by the second one in terms of like, all of his friends. And so I'm a celebrity again in their world. That's kind of where we've taken it.
I haven't heard of that movie. Top Gun, you say? For me, it was Iron Eagle. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's why I'm a gold winger, and they're the Air Force. So
shots taken. Well, let's talk about that's really helpful getting an understanding of the landscape here. You mentioned kind of acquisition strategies and how other bottler, kind of non-distiller producers have been acquired. It's funny when I think about food and beverage and the alcohol specifically industry, it feels like it's almost entirely buy versus build. In terms of these larger brands are not really in the business of trying to create new products. They really kind of wait and see what is working well, what's selling, and then they try to gobble them up. Can you talk a little bit about what the future is, maybe in terms of other product line offerings, and then we can talk about how that exit strategy of acquisition really kind of fits into your future plans.
Yeah, there's two things I'll bring up real quick on that, because I know that John was talking about how he drinks rum, and he's learning about joining the whiskey club, if you will. The point is, that's why we call ourselves spirits. We plan to grow product lines as we kind of wrap around the market and get into the spaces, if you will. So we'll be able to move into rums, because think of Navy and rum. We have such a huge history with that. I mean, think about George Washington providing rum for the troops during the American Revolution, for example. And then the second piece of it is it's really the exit piece of it is that, bigger brands, the problem that they have is they're kind of nameless and faceless, right? That's why they like these smaller brands that are growing around organic stories that are true to us. The thing is, we're trying to create jobs for ourselves in the future when we get acquired. I mean, that's the point, right? They want, like Penelope, they kept the team on. They said, do what you're doing. You just have more money. You have a bigger marketing budget, and you have access to more product. And essentially, that's the same type of thing that we're going after. It's not that we just want to get a payout. We're trying to create the secondary jobs for ourselves, so we get, stay on the team, but just have more access to product. And it's if you think about it, it's a really good match.
It is. It's just that extra investment allows for scale at a way that you can't necessarily do as a small business. And to your point, Eric, that's kind of what this market has turned into, is those larger corporations that have that capacity, right? Look for something to, catch fire, get excited, get people excited about it, and then they'll look to bring that into their portfolio and put money behind it to just allow it to scale.
Yeah, no, that's right. And we have one more really exciting issue to get to, so I'm gonna do the last question here. But before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and add the link back into the chat feature, so you can go, anybody listening or who's watching, you can go directly to netcapital.com and search Winglore Spirits, or you can select the link that I added into the chat right there, or you can go directly to netcapital.com/companies/Winglore Spirits, where you can review the offering materials, and if you're so inclined, you too can invest and own a piece of Winglore Spirits. So I'm going to add one more shameless plug as we wrap up here just a little bit. And then my favorite question, of course, the fundraise is live. That's the primary goal. Invest, raising capital so you can really do your, kind of execute on your growth strategy. But I always like to ask the question, outside of cash, how could folks help you? So maybe people already invested and now they want to see how they can kind of go above and beyond to help support the growth strategy here. So obviously, first thing, potentially invest in the portal. But outside of cash, how can folks listening to this right now support the Winglore Spirits team?
Yeah, I'll jump on that one. A super important part of this is this brand ambassador piece. We call it joining the squadron. And when you can invest in Winglore Spirits for as little as $101, we've got plenty of $101 investors out there that are doing awesome things for the brand and for the squadron, because they're going out and we're empowering those folks to go out and represent us at events. They're doing tastings in their hometowns that are representing us at things like air shows or conventions that have a lot of folks at it that are in the aviation space. And some of them are doing things like going out on social media, which has been really big for us. We're growing at a really incredible rate on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, and it's because of those other folks that are outside of the immediate company that are in the squadron that are making that sort of thing happen for us.
I would add on to this, and actually Eric brought this up the other day, and I kind of had an aha moment. He was talking about the civil military connection, and that's part of the community that we've joined. We're civilians again, and we've been integrating ourselves. But if you think about it, we're some of us are in our mid 40s. We're not trained. We're trained to stiff arm social media, and so we really do need people who are used to being in that ecosystem to kind of teach us what to do, provide user engagement, because that's huge. And I would add the last piece is like everybody is kind of connecting and joining. I've joined a whiskey club, not because I started a whiskey company, because I was with people who wanted to connect. And so we do single barrel offerings. And so we actually tailor all the way down to individual whiskey clubs. We can do a special bottling for them. We can do special labels. And that's part of our flexibility. We have these core products that we really believe in, but we can do things all the way down to like, we did this special bottling for an A-10 squadron up in Maryland that was being cadreed, basically, going away. And so even though they're a military unit, we can do that for whiskey clubs, corporations. That's how granular we can get. So supporting us is call us up, tell us your ideations, and we're not just going to slap any label on there. You can participate with the graphic design all the way to what's the liquid in the bottle.
I love that. Emphasizing the community that we're building here. You're not just an investor, you're actually kind of supporting the direction of the team here. So I really think that's fantastic. So right before wrap up, I wanted to add a link to an article talking about the hemp issue that somebody mentioned. So it does look like it might affect drinks, creams, gummies, all sorts of things might be affected by that new bill. So I wanted to add that for the person who asked about that. And then I'm going to add the link into Winglore Spirits one more time for folks who were unable to see that. You can go directly to netcapital.com and search Winglore, or you can select the link that I'm adding here, where you'll be able to see the offering materials, and you too can invest and join the squadron. All right, that puts us right on time. Thank you so much, Eric and Carlos. Next, and certainly not least, thank you so much for joining us, Greenopia. We have Gay and John on the line here. I think you guys are both also going to present your screen to start, and then we'll dig into questions as well. Why don't you come on in and start us off and tell us a little bit about Greenopia, and I'll add the link to the offering page directly into the chat now.
Thank you, Eric. I'll start. I just want to do a shout out to Winglore because I grew up in Kentucky. This was full of bourbon whiskey. We had that chat before we started. And what came to California because I was interested in healthy living. So here I am. Here we've got bourbon and healthy living talking to you. So it's a good combination. Delighted to be here. And I want to thank our audience today and people who took time to come and see us. I'm super appreciative. And Eric, thank you so much. It's been a long journey for Greenopia, but we're getting there. And so we're delighted to share. You guys have been first ones, and I'm delighted to be here with my co-founder, John Cross, who I'll introduce in just a minute. So background on this company is truly my interest when I left Kentucky was to move to California to have healthy living. My first job was at Good Earth Cafe. And then I started going to Mrs. Gooch's, which is a forerunner to Whole Foods. I've been in this space since, I'm shameless to say here, since my late 20s. So I really know it well. I've volunteered and been involved with many nonprofits. But it wasn't until 2005 when I heard about the inconvenient truth. And I was at that time a mom and was trying to create healthy living for my family. I realized there wasn't a place to shop to have healthy living. So whether it was good for you, good for the planet, and good for the community. So having spent my first part of my career in media, which is what I knew well, I decided to create a Michelin guide type book. So we created guidebook. I created guidebooks with my team of book people and researchers for LA, San Francisco, New York. We sold 75,000 books, won an award by the EPA. I welcomed Al Gore to stage at the Green Ball when he was there for Obama's inauguration. Really was very involved into the green space. But I always dreamed of moving Greenopia from a book format to a digital platform. But it wasn't until I was introduced to John Cross, a Googler for 19 years, who had major understanding of Google Ads and operations expertise and all the things that I needed to create a digital product in today's world. So I've always dreamed to create a digital platform, to create a sort of a way for people to find us and be able to interact with the product. So when I met John Cross, who had worked at Google for 19 years, it was the perfect match for me. He represented the access to digital ads, and his expertise in operations sort of allowed my dream to come true, which is coming true now. And we have joined by Nastya Nimro, who our UX designer, who's creating an incredible app, which we'll be excited to share with you later. So this has been a long journey for Greenopia. The market at the time when we started, although we did gangbusters at 75,000 books with press and Vanity Fair and opening the ball for Al Gore and wonderful media products like that on the Today Show on a regular basis, talking about green suggestions for your house. Really, it was a niche market at that time. But over the past number of years, of course, now it's mainstay. Everyone knows with the advent of Whole Foods, what green living is and healthy living that's good for you, good for the planet, good for the community. So it was perfect timing to create a digital product, because today there's a bigger problem than ever. Millions of conscious consumers are struggling to identify local businesses that are good for them, good for the planet, and good for the community. So this is what we're trying to solve. We've got a great, already with our beta app, we've got some good feedback. But John, do you want to take it from here?
Sure. So I met Gay last year when after I left Google, where I was, as she mentioned, for almost 20 years. I spent my career there 10 years in London and then 10 years in the headquarters in Mountain View. So I've moved out to California. And in my final year, I did something completely different, which was a sustainability project working with wildfires and land treatments, which was very far from ads, but actually piqued my interest because I've always been interested in getting into this area of climate and ecology. And it proved to me that I could change careers, but I also wanted to try something small again. I came from startups in the background and before Google, and joined a quite well-known, successful startup called Google in 2004, and didn't leave for a long time. But I wanted to get back to that kind of realm. And so when I met Gay, I thought her focus on digital media and growing in this market was more kind of in my wheelhouse than the kind of science-led projects like, carbon sequestration and ocean technology and stuff like that, which where a lot of climate tech investment is going. And I could see the opportunity for doing something more around the area of media and behavior change. So I looked into some numbers and I saw Gay's potential financials and saw a very, very large opportunity here, which is underlying because it's right now the sort of sustainability area is quite fragmented. There isn't a layer, there isn't a brand that you can think of that crosses all areas of sustainability. And if you look at all the aggregate spend of the individuals and the target market, it adds up to in 2024, the number was $472 billion of aggregate spending, growing at about 10% per year, which means that we're probably over $500 billion now in 2025. We also have data from the Harvard Business School, which says Harvard Business Review, that says that 2/3 of Americans would like to spend their money more sustainably, but don't know how. And only about 20-ish% are actually doing so. So that gap represents potentially a very large opportunity. Coming from Google, I know how to use the keyword planner tool and estimate traffic and volume of searches, and the numbers are very large. It's definitely over 9 million searches per year for local sustainable living, shopping, and eating. So restaurants, cafes, hairdressers, that kind of thing. And also an area where a lot of the assessments that are going on at the moment for sustainability and carbon footprint, that kind of thing, are happening for larger businesses, but they're too onerous for small businesses. So, and again, very, very large potential business for helping to identify the impact. And big numbers again, there's 34 million small and medium-sized businesses in America, which is our sweet spot. Any business could be in scope for Greenopia, but mainly we're talking about local stores that you see on the street. So there's plenty of them. If only 10% behave sustainably and are potential candidates for Greenopia listings, that's 3 million customers for us right there, which is free to join. but I won't go into the business just yet. And I'll come back to. So this is the problem. This is the size of the problem, and this is the solution. So, Gay, do you want to take back?
So in the same way, the guidebooks created this directory of green businesses in your city. So when you flew into New York, you would be able to open your guidebook and say, tell me where to go, Greenopia. Now the app is like, as I said, a dream come true, because now you can just flip open your phone and look for businesses that are nearby. And with those businesses, we have developed an assessment strategy, which is we have up to 60 types of businesses, from pet stores to coffee shops to nail salons to restaurants to hotels, even green burials, that we have developed an assessment questionnaire for the businesses fill out. So they truly, we only, like B Corp, we allow them to verify what they do, because there's no other way to check their before their products. Before that, but one day it will catch up with blockchain. We'll be able to even find out where that egg came from. But for the moment, we believe what they say. And because each of our cities have mavens in their area, so we always rely on a main restaurateur that will tell us that the restaurants we have in the guide are good, or that we've got some pet store people that can do for us, as well as we have some associations with green hair salons and nail salons. So we've got these 60 categories of businesses, and this automatic rating system, which John will go into in a few minutes, which divides their questions into 3 pillars. Is it healthy for you, healthy for the planet, and good for the community? Good for you, good for the planet, good for the community. So good for you would be, is it healthy for you in the sense that if you're a coffee shop, do they serve organic milk? Do they have gluten-free bread? Do they have organic coffee and teas and things like that? And the next is good for the planet. Is there back-end business practices? Are they sustainable? Do they compost? Do they recycle? Do they use LEED bulbs? Are they in a LEED certified building? And on the back end, Energy Star appliances. And are they good for the community? So are they diverse in their hiring? And did they treat their employees well? So what we want to do is we want to change the shopping behavior of everyday people on doing their everyday lives. When they go to a coffee shop, I want people to stop and say, hey, is this coffee shop good for us, good for the planet, good for the community? And that would seem like a small request to retrain the shoppers of the world to think about that. But we truly believe in today's world, to be sustainable citizen living on this planet, that's important to develop that kind of mentality. So we're excited to have this great new app, which will make it easy to find based on our Google Maps and our information. And John will tell you more next slide.
So these are the potential business revenue streams for Greenopia. So at the basic level, our financial model is built on subscriptions business. So it's actually free for a business to join the Greenopia app. But we want to bring individuals into stores and into the restaurants through offers, coupons, etc., or promotions within the app. So that's effectively like a paid listing. So we don't want to put any barrier to entry, and also we think pay to play with this kind of service is not appropriate. You are either sustainable or you're not. You're not sustainable because you pay for a subscription. But if you do want to use it as a marketing platform, then that option is there, and it's, again, no real barrier to entry. It's like $10 a month for a business to subscribe and provide offers and outreach, and then we can go up from there with additional marketing services. But ultimately, that's the goal. And if we are able to convert 10% of our listings to paying customers, the numbers can get very large indeed. So if you just take $100 per year per customer, and you take Gay's track record, which is where she signed up about 120,000 businesses in the previous version of Greenopia, which was a printed guide, those numbers, you can just do the maths, are pretty large. So we just need 10,000 listings to paying customers for the run rate to be $1 million, and Gay's have achieved many more than that in the past. So that's just the baseline. So that's our subscription model. Data licensing is another great opportunity this is if we are able to achieve critical mass in the number of listings. We believe that credit cards and well-known search engines could be interested in data like this, where you could actually potentially surface a business and the green flag or heart or whatever you want to represent the business with, it could be a differentiator. If you imagine you're ordering on DoorDash and you have two restaurants and you see one's got the green leaf and one doesn't, those kind of things could be very interesting for those kind of partners. So that's data licensing, and there's also a track record there. So Gay had a partnership with American Express and Hertz and other businesses like that. Advertising, I think there's clearly an opportunity for us to show ads, relevant ads, and ideally sustainability related ads to this network. If you have a green community, then it's something that could thrive as a destination where people can actually monetize content. And content partners, we have content partners actually queuing up to be part of the solution as well. On the app, it's not just business listings. You can actually get articles, help, tips, that sort of thing, and maybe video. And then the last one is B2B referrals. So there's a good example of where Gay was visiting a cafe near me, and walked in, and she could tell that they're doing everything right, but they had all these plastic forks, and it's kind of like, well, you've got everything here that people want, except what about those forks? Like, why are you using those? And they said, well, we don't know where to find them. We're busy. And it was, like another light bulb, which is that, the bamboo fork manufacturers and those kind of things could actually reach our community there as well. So there's a marketplace for suppliers as well. So plenty of opportunity if we can get the community going and the back and forth between users, businesses, and suppliers. So that's the business model.
And I might just add one last thing, which we did with American Express we did a program with American Express with their Zinc card, and we created something called the Eco Pack, so that people were, they got double points for shopping green, which again, we are just opening the doors there again. But we worked with, on the subscription side, we hope to develop the subscription model for users, because American Express had a concierge service, and we do regularly get requests. And I wrote a book about healthy living, and I get personal requests on where to shop for beds, where to look for baby food, that sort of stuff. So we hope to develop a concierge-based service for users, but that'll be phased in once we get a critical mass. And that'll represent.
I was thinking, it sounds like it's almost like it's a spin-off consulting practice for folks who need kind of that guidance to be able to kind of either retrofit or maybe when they begin, they kind of start by talking to you about make sure they begin with the end in mind and make sure that they're green from the very beginning. That sounds great.
And I think that'll be a real strength, Eric, because people already want to know when they move into an apartment, they have a baby, they get, or they've got a dog who's been sick. So, I mean, there are these pivotal points where people are open to changing their lifestyle. And we hope Greenopia will be there, again, not just with where to go, but with the content and why it is important to have a baby mattress that's toxic free. John, do you want to talk about the latest developments with the app?
Yeah, so for the last month or so, we've been, pretty much up and running. There's been a lot of groundwork to get this going. But we have a web app. We're going to have a proper downloadable app, in the App Store and the Play Store within a couple of months, I would say. But for the time being, you can access it directly at app.greenopia.com right now. It's likely to change. Right now we have, relatively, considering the numbers we've shared, the numbers are reasonably small at the moment while we test and get businesses on board. But the good news is our assessment is working. No one's had any issues filling in the assessment, and we've already got about 20 categories of businesses signing up. There's a lot of restaurants. There's some green hairdressers, nail salons, grocery stores. There's a hotel, so a good spread already. So clear, there's a lot of interest, and it's really validating when a business comes along and they are putting effort into being, into these areas. And also, we're not doing it in a way that's judgy. There's if they just do well in one of the pillars, we'll include them in the app. So if they're good for the community, but they're, behind on being, recycling or whatever, then we can give them those tips to help them, or we'll just surface them and match the businesses to the users that represent those values. So the idea is to lift up the businesses that are in there, but not penalize them for when they're not. So the self-serve assessment is working. We got about 200 businesses live now. Even since I created the slide, there's been a few more coming in. And we have 300 or so from Gaze Legacy that are from LA, which are about to go live. We've been concentrating on San Francisco. And there's a few chains as well in the pipeline, like anyone in California probably knows Mendocino Farms. They're interested in joining. Montana Grill, which is in quite a few states with 33 locations. So when we get a chain, the numbers go up very, very quickly. And so from Gaze Legacy List, it's old data, so we're updating it, but there's 19,000 live leads that we're going after right now and converting those. And to bolster our scalability, we're going to have a business profile editor where a business can go in and actually see their listing, update it themselves, and effectively sign. If we can put the assessment in there as well, then they can actually just sign up and almost automate the whole process. So we can scale really fast. The good news about doing something like this now compared to 10 years ago or more is, technology is not the barrier. We've got interns helping us with the web app who have done it in a few weeks. And it's good. It's usable. It's basic, but it works. And this is the kind of thing, just blows my mind being even at Google, how long this stuff used to take, but how quickly you can get up and running with digital products now. The challenge will be scaling, but even then we think it's simple enough that this can go really quickly. And our businesses love it, as you can see. So 2 of our earliest signups are fans and want to see this thing succeed. So, and those businesses, that's great because the businesses are kind of the lifeblood of Greenopia. So that's where we are. And then our final slide is just a little bit about us. Maybe I should have started with that. But there's one person here who's, we can only have 2 presenters, but Nastya is here on the call in the audience. I met Nastya in San Francisco at a climate hub called 90. It's a great place for startups. It's like a shared office space, all focused on climate. And so a very like-minded kind of audience, a lot of innovation happening there. And we were at a happy hour, for investors meeting founders. And Nastya was running her own startup, doing something quite similar to us, but very much aimed at consumers and gamification and content, whereas and she wanted to approach businesses next. And we were kind of like, well, we're at opposite ends. You're doing the consumers first, we're doing the businesses. Maybe we should team up. So we actually just merged efforts just earlier this year. And we've got some great suppliers. So UCLA interns, as I mentioned, are partnering with us effectively as a nonprofit. And so we're getting access to some extremely bright students who love the concept. So that's a huge bolster up. But we know we need a full-time team and a committed contract. So we've found Somnio Software, which is a product development agency, and they're currently working on the downloadable app. And then for the back end, we have Parallactic Consulting, who's a back end data engineering team building our assessment, and the 2 will come together so that we can actually automate the whole thing. Our advisory board is numerous people Gaze known throughout her career. Some from mine, people I've worked with at Google. There's the former chief privacy officer from PayPal as part of the team, and various others, including the former was he the boss of the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation?
CEO of Leo DiCaprio and served as the head of EPA under Arnold Schwarzenegger. So the good news is we've got some opportunity for some some celebs once we get going, if in fact that works out. So I never like to promise that, but there's always the opportunity. Having spent 20 years in LA, and this company was started in LA and Santa Monica, so we still have some big fans there.
So we have 7 minutes. I guess we should pause for questions.
Yeah, we've got some good ones coming in. So thank you so much for the updates there. First, I want to give a shout out. Someone mentioned I have 4 kids in their teens, and all of them are super concerned with sustainability. 2 of them want to work in that space, so the bow wave is coming. Love that. More of a comment than a question, but I think it's worth mentioning. Getting straight into the questions, though.
If they need jobs, if they need jobs or interested in internships, send them our way. We're recruiting. We love young kids.
Sounds like we answered the outside of cash. How can folks help? There it is, right there. If the folks want to help build the future here, there's an opportunity. So that's fantastic. Um, and then, so we can talk a little bit about the current revenue and which revenue stream is driving it, where you expect to see revenue in the next 6 months. Maybe we could dig into that for a little bit.
I can start, John, and then you can add. So our strongest revenue stream, our main source of revenue is the merchant, the business revenue. I have canvassed probably like 50 businesses already, asking them would they pay $10 a month, and they've all said they pay from 10 to 100. So we feel really, there has been one person that said no. So we feel really strongly that once we have users, we'll be able to roll on that a starter marketing package, and do some video stories for these merchants, get some of their special opportunities out, some sort of special promotions. John, would you want to add to that?
Yeah, well, just to be clear, we are pre-revenue. We're not earning revenue at this moment, but we have businesses who have told us when we have the paid product available, they will sign up, and we've started asking for that, not commitment, but that indication through our assessments. So when they say yes, we can count that as sort of promised revenue or expected revenue. But we'll probably be in a position to be able to start charging for the subscription in the new year. Date to be confirmed, but I would say, first half of the year, probably maybe first quarter.
Yeah.
I have opened the door on licensing revenues with a large financial institution. So we're going to be knocking on some doors to some other ones too, airlines, even San Francisco Airport.
One of the best. That's fantastic. And then, so I'm going to hold off on the question about projected revenue. Sounds like, a little bit early for that. Don't want to kind of speculate too much. And I was going to give the caveat anyway that projected revenue is inherently speculative and uncertain. So let's circle back to that question later. What does your scaling roadmap look like geographically when you expect to expand to other geographic areas? That's a fun one. Sounds like somebody wants to help expand into a specific region. If you can ask that question. So, but no, yeah, scaling roadmap, different geographic regions. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll start, and then John, I'll let John pipe in. We're starting with LA and San Francisco, which are our strength markets, where the team is and where the company started. New York is next because we had a guide there. We've got a number of businesses that are still there, and then quickly expanded to cities with partners. Phoenix, we're partnering with a magazine there, in Atlanta, where we're very involved with the Office of Sustainability. So those 5 markets are first off, and then after that, we sort of spread through Chicago and places like that. But anybody wants to come to market, the only barrier to entry is helping us get the businesses and underwriting it. So we're be happy to have them underwrite us.
You already first.
Businesses are signing up, and some businesses are signing up, as I mentioned, that are chains. And so straight off the bat, we've got, with Ted's Montana Grill, we've got 33 locations, and they're in Georgia, Colorado, Texas, I believe. There's probably about 7 states that they're in. Mendocino Farms has mainly been in California to date, but now they're launching in Chicago. So we will go with these chains, and then, as we hope there's some organic growth from just businesses seeing other businesses and seeing the sticker in the window and buzz. Well, we're going to be using social media, but yeah, we will concentrate on cities. So we're concentrating on San Francisco and LA for now, and then we'll do New York. But we will sign up a business wherever they are.
Yeah, and again, last couple of minutes, and I do want to give you just enough time for us to talk about, kind of why now, kind of closing remarks, why now is the perfect time to invest. But I want to do that for both companies. But let's sneak in one more question here. Sounds like we're really focusing on the providers, the businesses first on that side of the marketplace, but then also, what's the acquisition strategy, especially for end users in terms of customers engaging with the product? And again, I think you guys emphasized your rollout model, but any thoughts towards customer acquisition in terms of the customers, the end user side?
You mean the users of the app, right?
Yeah.
Well, we know that they want it. That's why we're starting the app now. It's the perfect timing because there's never been a bigger demand for sustainable living than now. So we'll work. We're already working with a group of people that we're starting to cultivate in San Francisco, and then we'll be doing social media and growing it from there. And also the businesses that stick around the window, they're our best fans because there's so many people that walk in each business every day. Think about it. A coffee shop has at least 20 people walking in and out, if not 100. So they're seeing the sticker. So we're going to be growing with that, as well as some of the nonprofits I've been involved with or been on the board of for years. So we're some of our partners in the space, like the Nature Conservancy.
No, it's perfect. Sorry, guys. I've had you guys dealing with my glare this whole time, but I just couldn't, just became unbearable. So we're going to finally fix that. Awesome. No, that's perfect. And so, yeah, 1 minute apiece if we can. Closing remarks, we'll reverse order. So, Greenopia, if you want to start us off, why is now, and I'm going to add a link directly into the chat here. Thank you so much for sharing about the opportunity. But why is now, starting with you, Gay, the perfect time to go to netcapital.com and invest in Greenopia? Spoiler alert, Eric, coming to you after that. So you got a little bit of lead time here.
Now is the perfect time because we are heading into our app is about ready to be fully designed and ready to use in the first quarter of next year. So I encourage everyone to go on and help us make that dream possible. So go on to netcapital.com. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And final question here, Eric, same to you. Why is now the perfect time to go directly to netcapital.com and invest in Winglore? I'm adding the link into the chat.
Thanks, Eric. Now's the perfect time because time's running out. We're coming to the end here of our time with Netcapital doing our crowdfunding raise. Like I mentioned before, we're doing this because it's important for us to grow the community and to allow this opportunity to be there for people that otherwise wouldn't necessarily be able to invest in a company like this. We're post revenue. We're 1,000 bottles sold. We're getting ready to double that, and we're rolling out new products quickly throughout the rest of this year and going into next year. And we're super excited about what it is we're going to be able to do in this marketplace. So it's really a limited time that this opportunity is available. We're 300 investors in, and the end is coming soon. Now's your chance.
That is perfect. Put those right at 4 o'clock Pacific. Thank you so much. So much. Can you guys join me at the attendees? Thank you so much to the attendees and our panelists. Thank you, Eric and Carlos and Gay and John for joining and sharing about Winglore Spirits and Greenopia. As I mentioned, the links are in the chat there. But people can go to netcapital.com. They can search Greenopia. They can search Winglore Spirits and learn more about the opportunity. Or you can, again, select that link that I added right there. You can review the materials and you too can invest and own a piece of these companies as they grow. If you missed some of our conversation today, or if you know somebody who would have loved to have joined, but they weren't able to, this has been recorded and will be uploaded to the NetCapital YouTube channel. I'm adding a link to that right now, or you can go to youtube.com and search NetCapital where you'll be able to see that. You can review anything you missed, and please feel free to share generously. But with all that being said, last thank you to our panelists. We can't do this without you. Thank you for letting the community in. Thank you for being a supporter and really kind of opening it up for folks to show you their appreciation and join the family as you grow. So yeah, final cheers there, Eric. Thank you so much for everything that you've done. And thanks everybody for coming.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you for your time. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Well.